Jane Foster, Natalie Portman, Eric Selvig, Stellan Skarsgård, and Darcy Lewis, Kat Dennings, are three scientists examining an aurora borealis-like phenomenon in the New Mexico desert in a four-wheel drive van. They are driving into a massive tornado/lightning storm that has suddenly formed. The van collides with a man inside the vortex and comes to a halt. The man, a well-built and attractive blonde, is self-conscious. A voiceover depicts a battle between the Jotuns, the frost giants of Jotunheim, and the Asgardians in 900 AD. The Asgardians triumph, grab the power casket, and return to their realm. Odin, Anthony Hopkins, is speaking to his two sons, the lively blonde Thor and the more serious dark-haired youngster Loki. Odin says they are both worthy, but only one can be king. Years later, Asgard holds a grand ceremony. Thor, Chris Hemsworth, is now formally recognized as Asgard's royal prince. Loki, Tom Hiddleston, watches with envy. Alarms go off before Odin can make his statement. There are intruders in the secure rooms that house the Jotun's power casket. The attackers are killed and the power casket is saved by a gigantic destroyer robot. Odin appears unconcerned as he examines the corpses, while Thor is enraged and wants to attack. He is forbidden by Odin. Thor assembles Loki and his closest companions, Volstagg, Ray Stevenson, Fandral, Josh Dallas, Hogan, Tadanobu Asano, and Sif, Jamie Alexander, and rides out to the Bifrost Bridge portal. The gatekeeper, Heimdall, Idris Elba, lets them pass, and the six are transported to Jotunheim, a cold, decaying wasteland. King Laufey, Colm Theory, appears out of nowhere and taunts the Asgardian heroes. A struggle begins as more ice giants surround the six. Loki survives by the use of magic and has an unexpected reaction when touched by a frost giant. Laufey summons a massive beast, and the Asgardians flee for their life. Thor defeats the beast, but the team is once again besieged, and things appear desperate. Odin arrives to save the day. He apologizes to Laufey for the intrusion and offers to restore peace, but Laufey declares that the frost giants are no longer at war with Asgard. He tries to stab Odin, but Odin blasts him back and takes the young bunch home. Odin releases the four buddies and confronts Thor and Loki on the Asgard side of the portal. Odin is enraged that Thor has dragged Asgard back into conflict, and warns Thor that he is unfit to rule. He deprives him of his power, exiles him to Earth, and sends his hammer, Mjolnir, after him, declaring that whoever handles the hammer and is worthy of it will receive Thor's might. Earth, Thor becomes agitated, and Darcy tasses him, knocking him out. The three scientists transport him to the hospital in their vehicle. As he wakes up, he starts fighting again, but he is eventually calmed down. Eric tries to get Jane to leave him alone, claiming he is a lunatic, but she is intrigued and attracted to him. They return to the hospital, but Thor has fled. They hit the Asgardian man again and knock him out as they drive away in the van, but this time they take him with them. Jane sends him civilian clothes from her ex-boyfriend. Thor chooses to go after overhearing locals discussing a satellite disaster 50 miles due west, while Eric tries to convince Jane to leave him alone once more. Thor goes for a tour around town and tries to buy a horse from a pet store. Jane appears and offers him a ride in the van. The two travel west. A throng has gathered at the satellite crash site, which is actually where Thor's hammer landed on Earth. People are partying and attempting to raise the hammer from the crater. Stan Lee appears as one of the locals attempting to extract the hammer using his pickup truck. SHIELD government operatives take over the premises and seize Jane's study notes and computers. Jane and Thor arrive on the site after nightfall. The crater is now encircled by soldiers and tents. Thor attacks, and Jane takes cover. Thor ultimately approaches the hammer after knocking out countless agents, but is unable to lift it. He howls at his weakness and collapses to the ground, giving no resistance as SHIELD agents close in and seize him. Asgard, Thor's four pals begin to assume Loki was involved in Thor's exile. Loki realizes he is not a true Asgardian, and Odin admits Loki was abducted as a newborn from Jotunheim and reared as his own. Loki is perplexed and enraged as Odin slips into a coma, Odin sleep. Loki takes over as acting king. Earth, Agent Coulson, Clark Gregg, questions Thor, and Loki emerges in the room briefly after he leaves him alone. Loki informs Thor that Odin is no longer alive and that he cannot return to Asgard. Thor is in a state of distress. Eric shows up to inform the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. Thor is Jane's ex-husband, and he is high on steroids. He must have forged a driver's license. Coulson allows Eric to take Thor, who stealthily takes Jane's notebook on the way out. Eric takes Thor out for a drink in town. The two gulp Boilermakers and bond. Thor transports the inebriated Eric to Jane's caravan. Thor and Jane travel to a rooftop to look at the stars, and Thor tells Jane about the 9 realms and the Bifrost Bridge. Jane deduces that the bridge is the Einstein-Rosen bridge wormhole. Loki freezes Heimdall before meeting Laufey in Asgard. Loki was the one who released the frost giants into Asgard earlier to try to retrieve the power casket. He makes a deal with Laufey that he will let them back into Asgard to kill Odin and take their casket in exchange for their returning home in peace. Loki orders the destroyer to travel to Earth and murder Thor. Earth, the destroyer appears in the desert of New Mexico and begins scorching everything with a heat ray. Thor and the 3 scientists try to get everyone safely away. Thor confronts the destroyer and requests that Loki leave the humans alone in exchange for himself. Loki can see and hear what is happening in Asgard. Thor is thrown to the ground, apparently dead, by the destroyer's brutal backhand slap. Jane, in sobs, rushes to the body. However, Thor's altruistic act of defending his allies demonstrates his worthiness to reclaim Mjolnir, which emerges from the crater and returns to Thor's hand. He is restored to full health and vigor, and he is dressed in his crimson cape and armor once more. He effortlessly destroys the destroyer and attempts to return to Asgard, promising Jane that he will. Frost giants invade Asgard through the portal, marching through the frozen Heimdall. Laufey enters Odin's bedchamber, and as he prepares to kill the Norse deity, Loki murders him in order to appear to be the hero. Heimdall is conscious and manages to break free despite being frozen. He returns Thor to Asgard. Thor takes to the skies to combat the ice giants. Loki travels to the Bifrost portal and activates it in order to destroy the ice world Jotunheim. Thor tries to stop him, and the two fight. Thor immobilizes Loki with Mjolnir and begins to demolish the portal, striking away at the bridge itself. The two brothers plummet into space as everything breaks, but Odin is there to hold Thor, who is holding Loki's staff. Loki acknowledges defeat and falls down the vanishing Bifrost Bridge into the pit of no return. On Asgard, everything appears to be back to normal, albeit Odin is disappointed with the outcome. Thor is in love with Jane, but Heimdall informs him that she is looking for him. Jane is back on Earth, in a new lab with new equipment. Selvig is transported to a S.H.I.E.L.D. facility after the credits, where he meets Nick Fury, Samuel L. Jackson. Fury shows him a device in a bag that he claims contains endless power. Loki then appears, unseen by Selvig and Fury, and says, "Well, I guess that's worth a look," which Selvig repeats.